everybody. I am back testing out the live features on Substack. No, I didn't schedule this, so there won't be a headline, but here's the headline for you. We are picking up where we left off on how to podcast. This is part 2 of how to podcast. So if you are a content creator on Substack and you're thinking, I really want to add a podcast to my Substack, it's very easy. However, I highly recommend that you have a streaming platform like a StreamYard or a Riverside to store all of the footage that you put together for this live stream podcast, because then it really makes it a lot easier for clipping later on. It also helps if you want to go live to Substack and YouTube, which I'm not doing now, but I have tested just recently and it worked out fine. You will definitely see the comments in the chat on Riverside, so that helps as well. And right now I can tell there's no one here watching, and there may not be anyone watching at first. Okay, guys. It is also important to make sure that you are scheduling those live stream events. Right now, I'm in talks with another creator, and we're talking about putting together a live stream podcast to pick up engagement, build community, and talk about what we are seeing online. Part of what we're noticing is this pull to streaming platforms and also to YouTube and social media, podcasting, and people are looking for their reliable sources. So, what I've been doing with my newsletter, which I renamed Satvo, is I'm looking at different YouTube channels in the podcast space that focus on news to get a better sense of what they have to offer and to sort through to find reliable sources. Now, right now, my first pass, I am mainly focusing on production to help you create your own podcast and your own long form content. I'm dishing on each show, I'm dishing out some tips to help you think through the elements that you would need to put together a solid show. Sure, you can just turn on the mic and talk, but really you need to have a plan in place and a strategy, because once you put that mic on and you are broadcasting, you then need to think about, well, how am I getting this onto the RSS? Right? So that it's available on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the podcasting platforms. Now, you can do that through Substack, but you're going to need a tile. What's a tile, Jamie? What's a tile? A tile is a graphic that goes with every podcast episode. You're then going to need a thumbnail for YouTube if you decide to put it on YouTube. So there's a lot of elements that need to be thought through before you start podcasting. And so that's why I'm hosting this part 2 on how to podcast. So, on the first part, we talked about how you really need to think about your concept. What's your podcast about? Who is it for? I, honestly, you really also need to think, who is the audience you can serve best, and how do you plan on serving them with every episode? You really need to have a promise being offered, potentially a transformational promise, so that your audience, every time they come, knows what to expect and leave with that fulfilled. So if you are a journalist and you focus on immigration affairs, right? You're always doing reports tied to immigration. A part of your promise could be that people joining your podcast are going to leave with a better understanding of the immigration situation in the United States. I'm just giving an example, completely spitballing, but that's a way to think about it. You also need to think about your primary platform, right? So I'm talking to you here on Substack. So I am already saying to you, this is where you should start. I'm saying that because here, unlike any other platform available, you can collect emails. Emails are money. Let me repeat that. Emails are money. If you are looking to monetize whatever content you're putting out there, collecting emails is key. Why? Because those that subscribe and provide you their email are essentially inviting you into their home, to their phone, to their computer, and allowing you to reach out to them and say, hey, in addition to this podcast, I also offer services, or I'm available to moderate a panel or be a guest speaker, or host a workshop or appear on, you see what I'm saying? It opens you up to being able to sell services that is going to help you in the long run, especially if this is your new investment. Your independent content creation journey needs to have some financial support. And one great way to access your supporters is through email. And no podcasting platform that I've come across collects emails from those who follow your account. So if you're on, let's also just talk about social media. If you're on Instagram, do you get emails? No. How do you convert them to become podcasting listeners? It's really hard. It's real hard. Okay. How do you convert those following you on LinkedIn into Substack subscribers? How? Pretty hard. Have you tried? It's hard. The email is the best way in. So Substack has a great platform here. And if you can create a podcast for Substack, you should. And I'm here to help you structure that with this video. So after you've chosen your format, you're then going to think about, okay, what equipment do I need, guys? Don't show up without lights, a mic, and the proper equipment because your audio just isn't going to sound good and you're not going to sound professional. Now you can wear, I don't have it with me, you can wear like a lavalier and have it hooked up to your phone, a lav mic. If you need equipment suggestions, I will drop my link to my Amazon storefront in this post or on my notes so that you can shop what I've already reviewed. So I've reviewed products for your home, lights, mics, tripods, and I put it all into this Amazon storefront. For a while there, I thought I was a tripod salesman because I was definitely hustling tripods out the door, but you really don't make much on Amazon storefront, so don't feel like I'm making a ton of money. But if you do go to my storefront, try to use my link because I'll get 5 cents for everyone who buys my stuff. So really, this storefront is mainly there to help you select your equipment. I've reviewed a bunch of products and I'm still reviewing products. So if you have something you want me to check out, definitely message me so I can check it out and see what I think. You also need to think about what platform you're going to store everything on. So as I mentioned right now, I'm using Riverside to stream on Substack. If you're looking to have a platform to stream, Riverside's great. You know, it stores everything in the cloud. It gives you a transcript, allows you to cut social media clips. I have an affiliate discount code. So if you want 15% off, use my code. I'll put that down below. But right now it's OCR15. I'm not sure when that expires. I should probably find out, but that's what I got. You also want to have a show structure. Think about how you want to start every show. Like for this live, you know, I just made this little open countdown in Canva. Just go to Canva. You don't need to hire an animation guy. You're just starting out. You really don't. But you should have an intro of some kind if you're going to make whatever live video you're doing on Substack into a podcast. So think through what you're open. You should have an open script that reiterates your promise so that every time someone comes to your platform on Apple or Spotify, they're reminded of what you're planning on offering. Because guess what? The latest episode might be what they're listening for the first time. So you want to make sure it's on everyone. You also want to have your live podcasts scheduled. Now, I haven't messed with this. I haven't figured out how to connect with Riverside for scheduled ones. That's where I'm popping up live. But you could just use the Substack platform, and Substack has a video feature where you can then download the video to your laptop, upload it into an editing system to make social media clips. So you could do it all without Riverside. And that might be what I wind up doing, but I'm testing it all out right now. I do use Riverside for other things too. So you want to schedule and have these recordings potentially titled so people know what they're going to get. You then want to have, we're talking about a live podcast, so you won't necessarily need to edit it. However, you could consider going live on Substack and then editing it for clarity and posting that separately to the RSS versus connecting Substack to the RSS. Doing that, you can then add some visual elements and even put it as a video Spotify podcast and on YouTube. So you have to play around and figure it out. But within your show structure, you always want to have a call to action mentioned at least 3 times throughout a 25 to 40, let's just say 25 to 30-minute conversation. You also want to be weaving in potentially your services. Like if you're a coach or you want to be a guest on a show, you could mention within your podcast conversation those things, and you would pause and get to them in a live podcast. Now, in an edited podcast, you would have those pre recorded and add them, the same ones every time, to your show if you really wanted to. You then want to have, an episode asset list. That's your title, description, keywords, SEO information so that you can optimize every episode. You can also make an audiogram or a video snippet from your shows that you can put on social. Again, trying to get people from Instagram to podcast is hard unless they're already truly engaged with your account and following and they are eating everything up. It is hard, but it's always worth doing, and you should be on as many platforms as possible. It's easier to get people to go to your podcast from an email list than it is from any social media platform. But I highly recommend anytime you make a videogram snippet or an audiogram or a videogram. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but an audiogram or a video snippet, you want to put those in your story with the link to the podcast on Instagram. That's more valuable. And then you want to make sure that on Instagram, you either have a clip from the conversation or you make more of a behind the scenes video about the conversation. And that works more for accounts that don't really have TV media clips on them. So you really want to think through your social media strategy. You could also just want quotes. So think it through. We've already talked about the publishing a little bit, but you will also want to have, like a platform, a hosting platform. Some people use, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and the RSS will distribute automatically. So if you are going to use Substack, essentially that's your platform. But you could say, you know what, I don't really know if I want to have this live on Substack, so I'm going to have an outside platform. I don't really have a preference. Right now, I've been using Spotify for creators. But right now, I'm repeating myself again. Don't do that. I'm also thinking about moving to Spreaker. Okay, again, you want to be promoting, promote, and always have a CTA, a call to action at the end. And then track the performance. I have shows where you put an Excel spreadsheet together and you track how well they're doing and why. That's really essential if you don't have so much of like a back of house organizer. Just, put a list together of all the guests you've had, how many downloads you got on your Spotify or podcasting platforms or Substack, and then comments. How many comments did it get? Anybody leave a review? You want to keep track because that's all ultimately going to help you determine the shape of your show moving forward. I really hope that this has helped you out, but if you need any more help structuring out your own podcast, do reach out for support. You can email me at hello. So it's hello at oncamready.com. Hello at oncamready.com. And that's it for part 2. I'm trying to keep these short. Again, around 15 minutes is really when you start to see people engage with your lives. But I also think you don't want to be too long. And right now I'm at 15 minutes without a guest, and I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to wrap up, and I will see you guys on Substack.